Bristol Community College, Mathematics with Dan Avedikian, Math 011, Arithmetic, Section 4.4, Problem 3. This is Section 4.4, Problem 3. It says write each percent as a fraction or mixed number reduced to its lowest terms. So the first one is 12%. So to convert any percent to a fraction, what you do is you write the percent over 100 and then reduce it if you can. So 12% starts off as 12 over 100. And can we reduce this? Yes, they're both even. I can take half of each. But even better, I can divide 4 into both of them evenly. 4 divides into 12 3 times. And 4 divides into 100 25 times. So I have 3/25. That's the fraction equivalent of 12%. So the next one is 12.5%. So again, to convert a percent to a fraction, you write the percent over 100 and then reduce if you can. So as we start this, we have a problem that we have a decimal and a fraction combined. We want to just fraction. So what I can do is just pull the decimal over one position in the numerator, put it after the 5. But to do that, I have to pull the decimal the same amount, one position over to the right in the denominator. Now the denominator doesn't have a decimal written, but it's really in there. You can assume it's at the end of the 100. So if I move the decimal one position to the right in the numerator, I would get 125. In the denominator, that 100 becomes a 1,000. When I pull it one position to the right, I create a blank spot that I fill in with a 0. So as a fraction, I have 125 over 1,000. Now this can be reduced. I can definitely put 25 into both the numerator and denominator evenly. The numerator is a little bit easier. 25 divides into 125 5 times, right? Into 100 is 4, and one more is 5. Into 1,000 is kind of big. Not exactly sure. So pretend you can't see one of the zeros. 25 goes into 100 4 times. Put the 0 back, it's 40. That's an easy way to do it without writing it out the long way. Now, 5 over 40, I can reduce it again. So apparently, 25 was not the biggest value that I could divide into both. But that's okay. I can just do one more step. 5 divides into 5 once, and then 5 divides into 40 8 times. So this comes down to 1/8. 1/8 is the decimal, is the fraction equivalent of 12.5%, or 12.5%, you can say. Now, the next one is 1.25%. Write that as a fraction. So start off the same way. You write the percent in the numerator and you put it over 100. So I have 1.25 over 100. Same sort of a problem. I have a decimal and a fraction combined. So you solve it the same way. You take the decimal, pull it as many places to the right as you have to so that you don't have a decimal anymore. It gets written as 125 instead of 1.25. So how many positions did we pull the decimal point to the right? We pulled it 2 spots. So you have to pull it over to the right the same number of spots in the denominator. And again, initially you don't see it written, but you can assume it's at the end. So if you pull it over 2 spots, it's going to introduce 2 new zeros. So I already had 102 zeros, so I put in 2 more, it becomes 10,000. So 125 over 10,000, that is a fraction, but again, it can be reduced. And I can see that I can divide 25 into both evenly. So again, the top 25 divides into 125 5 times. I can see that pretty easily. Into 10,000, that's tougher. So again, just temporarily ignore 2 of the zeros. 25 divides into 100. I know that's 4. Put the 2 zeros back. 4 with 2 zeros after it is 400. So I have 5 over 400. Now again, that's better, but it's not reduced to its lowest terms. 5 and 400 are both evenly divisible by 5. So 5 divides into 5 once. 5 divides into 400. That's kind of tough too. So again, pretend I can't see one of the zeros. I know 5 goes into 40 8 times. So now put the 0 back. 8 with a 0 after it is 80. And now that can't be reduced anymore. 1/80th, or 1 over 80, is the fraction equivalent of 1.25%. The next one is 125%. There's no decimal in this one. So this will be fairly straightforward. You put the percent in the numerator and put 100 in the denominator. Now, that is a fraction. Again, it can be reduced. 25 divides into both evenly. 25 divides into the numerator 5 times. 25 divides into the denominator 4 times. 5/4. And that's good, or you could write it as 1 1/4 or 1 1/4. Again, 4/4 would be 1. 4 over 4 is 1, so there's the 1 in front. This 1 is the 4 over 4, and because there's 5, there's 1 more fourth left. So that's where I get 1 1/4 or 1 1/4. And the last one is one of those decimal combination things again. So to start it off, what we will do is write the percent in the numerator of a fraction and put 100 in the denominator. And I put 0.125. That's the same as 0.125. Now, we have a decimal and a fraction combined. I want it just a fraction. I don't want any decimals. So now to get rid of the decimal in the numerator, I have to pull it 3 positions to the right. So I'll do that. It'll become 125. Now in the denominator, there's no decimal written. Assume it's at the end of the 100. If I pull that decimal 3 positions to the right, I'm going to introduce 3 new zeros. So I'll have a 100 with 3 zeros after it, so 100,000. That is a fraction, but again, it can be reduced. I know for sure at least 25 can go into both evenly. Again, the numerator is easy. 25 divides into 125 5 times. It divides into 100,000. I know it's even, but how many times? That's kind of complicated. But to get the answer quickly, ignore some of the zeros initially. How many zeros am I ignoring? 3 of them. So now I'm left with 100 if I ignore 3 zeros. Now I know 25 divides into 100 4 times. Now I ignore 3 zeros, put the 3 zeros back. So I have a 4 with 3 zeros after it. So that's 5 over 4,000. Now again, because it's a 5 in the numerator and the denominator ends with a 0, I can go a little further. I can reduce more. 5 divides into 5 once. It divides into 4,000 evenly, but how many times? Again, well, pretend you can't see 2 of the zeros. So you have 40. So 5 divides into 40 8 times. I know that. And now you put the 2 zeros back that you ignored. So 8 with 2 zeros after it is 800. So I have 1 over 800. Can I reduce that anymore? No. So that's the end. So the fraction equivalent of 0.125% is 1 over 800.